The night was cold, but his voice was burning. "Pack your things and get out!" the billionaire shouted at the old man. Everyone in the mansion hallway went silent. The crystal lights, the marble floor, the big staircase, all of it felt small in that moment. The old security guard stood there, shaking. His gray mustache trembled. His eyes were full of tears. "Please, sir. Mr. Kane. I've worked here for 20 years, he whispered. "This is my only job." Mr. Kane pointed at the door. "Enough, Thomas. You slept on duty. My son could have been in danger. You're fired." Thomas looked down. "I didn't sleep, sir. I just sat for a moment. My leg." "I don't care about your leg." Mr. Kane cut him off. "I pay you so much and you cannot even stand straight? People like you are replaceable." The staff watched. Some turned away. Some bit their lips. No one spoke. Thomas swallowed hard. "My wife is sick, sir. I need the money for her medicine." Mr. Kane's voice was ice. "Not my problem. Leave your uniform and get out of my house. Tonight." The old man's hands shook as he unbuttoned his security jacket. He placed it slowly on the table. His white shirt underneath was worn and thin. He looked up one last time. "Thank you for the years you gave me, sir," he said softly. "I always treated your family as my own." Mr. Kane turned his back. "Guards, escort him out." As Thomas walked out into the cold night with his small bag, Mr. Kane's little daughter, Mia, watched from the stairs, tears in her eyes. If you were standing there, watching this scene, what would you feel? Anger? Sadness? Or maybe you'd wait to see what karma will do next. The next morning, the mansion was bright and busy. New security guards stood at the gate. Young, strong, tall. Black glasses. New uniforms. New guns. They looked like soldiers. Inside, Mr. Kane sat at the long breakfast table, scrolling through his phone. Mia, his 10-year-old daughter, played with her cereal, but her eyes were sad. "Daddy," she asked quietly, "why did you shout at Mr. Thomas like that?" Mr. Kane didn't look up. "Because he was useless, Mia. I need people who are sharp, not old and sleepy." "He wasn't useless," she said. "He used to wait for me outside my school gate. He held my bag. He gave me candy. He walked me when I was scared." Mr. Kane sighed. "Mia, you're a child. You don't understand business. In this world, if someone is weak, you let them go. That's how I became a billionaire." Across the table, Mr. Kane's sister, Grace, watched him with disgust in her eyes. "You became a billionaire, yes," she said slowly. "But were you always this cold?" He looked at her. "Don't start, Grace." She leaned forward. "Do you remember the night your car broke down in the rain? Who stayed with you till 3 a.m. on the highway?" Mr. Kane rolled his eyes. Yes, Thomas did. "I know." "So what?" "So," Grace said, "you fired the man who treated you like a son, in front of strangers, for one small mistake. That's what." Mr. Kane put down his coffee cup. "One small mistake can cost a life. I don't take risks." He stood up. "I have a business meeting." As he walked past the huge glass windows, he saw the new guards outside. Standing tall. Perfect posture. No gray hair. No limp. He nodded, satisfied. "Now this," he thought, "this looks professional." Outside the mansion gate, on the other side of the road, Thomas stood quietly. He held a small plastic bag with a bread loaf inside. His coat was too thin for the wind. He looked at the mansion he had guarded for 20 years. He remembered Mia's first day of school. Mr. Kane's late-night returns. The nights he stayed awake when thieves were in the area. Now he was just nobody. A car zoomed past, splashing dirty water on his shoes. Thomas stepped back. He took a deep breath. "I must find a job," he whispered to himself. "Mary needs her medicine." His phone buzzed. A message from his wife. "Did you talk to Mr. Kane? Will he keep you?" Thomas stared at the screen. His eyes filled with tears again. He typed slowly. "No, I lost the job. But don't worry. God will help us." He put the phone back in his pocket. His hands were shaking. His back ached. He turned away from the mansion and started walking, step by step, down the long road. Behind him, the mansion shone like a palace. In front of him, only uncertainty. And somewhere in between, karma was waiting. What do you think? Did Mr. Kane do the right thing? Or will life teach him a lesson soon? Days passed. The new guards became part of the mansion's routine. They joked with each other. They checked their phones during duty. They smoked near the back gate when no one was watching. To Mr. Kane, they looked perfect because they looked modern, strong, young. He never looked deeper. One evening, Mr. Kane hosted a big party. Business partners, rich friends, TV reporters. The house was full of music and lights. Expensive cars lined the driveway. People laughed, glasses clinked, cameras flashed. Mia stood in a pretty blue dress near the stairs, holding her stuffed rabbit. She did not smile much. "Why are you sad, sweetheart?" Grace asked her. "I miss Mr. Thomas," Mia said. "He used to stand by the door and greet me. He always said, 'Princess Mia is home.'" Grace smiled sadly and hugged her. "Not everyone has a uniform of respect, Mia," she whispered. "Some people wear it in their heart." Mia didn't fully understand, but she knew something was wrong. She looked toward the entrance. Two new guards were laughing and watching a video on one of their phones. "Shouldn't they be watching the gate?" she asked. Grace followed her gaze. Her eyes narrowed. "You're right," she said. "They should." At the same time, outside the mansion's high walls, a dark van stopped in the shadows. 4 men sat inside. Their faces were hard, their eyes cold. "That's the house," one of them said. "Billionaire Kane. They say he keeps cash for deals. Safe room on the 2nd floor." Another man smirked. "And the security?" The driver laughed. "New boys. They don't scare anyone. I watched one of them sleep in his chair last night. They pulled masks over their faces. Let's move." Inside, the party got louder. Mr. Kane stood in the center of the room, telling a story about some big business win. People laughed. They clapped. "I built all this with discipline," he said proudly. "I don't tolerate weak people in my team." Someone asked, "Is it true you fired your old security guy just like that?" Mr. Kane shrugged. "He was too old. People like that slow us down." Grace heard it. Her jaw tightened. If you cut the roots, she thought, one day the tree will fall. Upstairs, Mia's room was quiet. She sat by the window, looking at the sky. She missed the days when Thomas would knock and say, "Princess, your dad is home, safe and sound." She whispered to herself, "I hope he is okay." At that very moment, Thomas was sitting in a small clinic waiting area across the city. He held his wife Mary's hand. The doctor had just told them that Mary needed more medicine, more tests. "It will cost money," the doctor said. "Can you manage?" Thomas nodded weakly. "Yes, doctor. I will manage somehow." Outside the clinic, the same dark van drove past slowly. The men inside didn't know the old man sitting inside. The old man didn't know his future was about to collide with the mansion again. Back at the party, It was almost midnight when the main gate quietly opened. The two guards weren't even looking. One was scrolling on his phone. The other had his eyes half closed, nodding to music in his earphones. 4 masked men slipped inside. Silent. Quick. Like shadows. They moved along the side of the house. There were no cameras there. Thomas had once told Mr. Kane, "Sir, we should install cameras on this sidewall. It is a blind spot." Mr. Kane had replied, "Too expensive. Thieves won't come here. We live in a safe area." Now, those exact words came back to bite him. The men reached a back door. It was locked, but one of them knew what to do. He pulled out tools. Within seconds, click, the door opened. They entered the mansion quietly. Downstairs, the music covered all sounds. Upstairs, it was silent. One robber pointed to the stairs. "The safe room is on the 2nd floor. Let's move." Another robber looked up. "And the kid?" The leader smirked. "If she is there, we use her. Rich men pay faster when their kids scream." They climbed the stairs. At that same moment, Mia got up to get her stuffed rabbit from her bed. She heard a creak in the hallway. "Daddy?" she called softly. No answer. She stepped closer to the door. "Mr. Thomas?" she whispered out of habit. What happened next would change all of their lives. Mia opened her bedroom door a little. She expected to see a maid or Grace. Instead, she saw a man in black with a mask, standing right there. His eyes met hers. For a moment, both froze. Then the man lunged forward. "Grab her!" he shouted. Mia screamed. "Daddy!" 2 robbers pulled her into the hallway. She kicked and cried. "Let me go! Help! Help!" Downstairs, the music stopped for a second. People heard something faint. "Did you hear that?" Grace asked. Another sound. A scream. Louder. "Daddy!" This time everyone heard it. Mr. Kane's heart dropped. His face turned white. "That's Mia." He ran toward the stairs. "Turn off the music," he shouted. Upstairs, the robbers dragged Mia. "Stop crying," one hissed. "We won't hurt you if your dad behaves." Mia sobbed. "Please, don't hurt my daddy. Please." They pushed her into the corridor near the safe room. One robber spoke into a small radio. "We have the girl. Get the dad up here." Downstairs, the party became chaos. Guests panicked. Some ran for the door. Mr. Kane pushed past everyone. "Where are my guards?" he shouted. He rushed outside. Both new guards were missing. One had run to get help, the other had disappeared. His hands started shaking. "What is this? Where are they?" Grace grabbed his arm. "Daniel, listen to me." Before she could finish, a masked man appeared at the top of the stairs with a gun. "Everyone stay where you are," he barked. The room went silent. "I said don't move." "Mr. Kane, come upstairs. Your daughter is waiting." Mr. Kane's knees felt weak. He started walking slowly up the stairs. Every step felt heavier. Grace whispered, "God, please protect Mia." On the 2nd floor, Mia sat on the floor, her hands tied in front with a scarf. Tears ran down her cheeks. "Daddy!" she cried when she saw him. "Don't hurt her," Mr. Kane said, his voice cracking. "Take whatever you want. Just don't touch my daughter." The robber pointed the gun at him. "Open the safe room. No. Or we see how loud your kid can scream." Mr. Kane's hands shook as he moved toward the hidden keypad on the wall. He typed in the code. His fingers slipped twice. "Faster!" the robber shouted. Finally, the safe room door clicked open with a heavy sound. Inside were stacks of cash, gold, important files. Years of wealth. The robber laughed. Looks like we hit the jackpot. He turned to his men. Fill the bags. 2 of them rushed inside the safe room. The leader kept the gun on Mr. Kane and Mia. Please, Mia sobbed. Please let us go. The robber looked at Mr. Kane. You rich people think you're safe behind walls, yes? What happened to your perfect security? Mr. Kane's eyes filled with tears. He realized the truth. Thomas had warned him about the blind spots. Thomas had stayed awake for years. Thomas had treated Mia like his own child. And he had thrown him out like trash. Downstairs, someone had called the police. Sirens were now faint in the distance. But they were still far. The robber heard them and panicked. We're out of time, he yelled. Take the kid. We'll use her to escape. He grabbed Mia's arm. She screamed louder. Daddy, help me. The robber started pulling her toward the stairs. Everything was happening so fast. And then, from the front door, another voice shouted, Stop! Let the girl go! Everyone turned. There, standing in the doorway, breathing hard, was Thomas, the old security guard. His hair was messy. His coat was soaked with sweat. But his eyes were sharp, focused. He was holding a simple wooden stick he had grabbed from outside. Mr. Thomas? Mia cried with hope. The leader laughed. Look at this. The old man wants to be a hero. Thomas took a few steps forward. Mia, don't be afraid, he said gently. Uncle is here. He looked straight at the robber. Let the child go, he said. You can still leave. Don't cross this line. The robber pointed his gun at Thomas. Move, Grandpa, or I'll shoot. Thomas did not move. Inside, his heart was racing. His leg hurt, but he stood firm. He had guarded this family for 20 years. His body might be old. His loyalty was not. Shoot me then, he said quietly. But the girl does not leave this house. For a second, the robber was confused. This was not the reaction he expected. In that short moment, Thomas moved faster than anyone thought he could. He swung the stick at the robber's hand. Crack! The gun flew out of the robber's grip and slid across the floor. Run, Mia! Thomas shouted. Mia rushed toward her father. Mr. Kane grabbed her and pulled her behind him. The robber snarled and punched Thomas in the stomach. The old man fell to his knees. Another robber ran out of the safe room. Boss, hurry! The police are almost here. They grabbed the half-filled bags and started running toward the back stairs. On their way, the leader kicked Thomas in the ribs. Stupid old man, he spat. They fled down the back way and jumped over the unprotected side wall. The same wall Thomas had told Mr. Kane to secure. Minutes later, the police rushed in. The robber's van was found abandoned nearby. Some of the money was recovered. Some not. But no one cared about the money in that moment. Everyone's eyes were on Thomas. He lay on the floor, trying to breathe. Mia knelt beside him, crying, Please, don't die. Please, Uncle Thomas. Thomas smiled weakly. I promised you, Princess, he whispered. As long as I am alive, no one will hurt you. Tears fell from Mr. Kane's eyes onto the marble floor. He sank down beside Thomas. Why did you come back? Mr. Kane asked, voice shaking. After what I did to you, why? Thomas looked at him. His eyes were kind, even now. Because this is my duty, he said softly. Your father gave me this job years ago. I swore to protect this house. I may not wear the uniform now, but my promise is still on. Those words broke something inside Mr. Kane. All his pride. all his arrogance, all his belief that weak people don't matter. He started to cry. Not the small tears he hid in business rooms. Real tears. Deep, painful. "I am sorry, Thomas," he sobbed. "I am so sorry. I treated you like nothing. I humiliated you. Can you forgive me?" Thomas lifted a shaking hand and gently touched his arm. "I forgave you," he said, "the day you fired me. I knew you were angry, not evil. But life has its way of teaching us." The paramedics came and lifted Thomas onto a stretcher. As they took him away, Mia walked beside him, holding his hand. "Don't leave us again," she cried. He smiled. "I'll try not to, Princess." A few days later, Thomas survived. His ribs were cracked, but he was strong. At the hospital, the bills were big. This time, Mr. Kane paid every single one. Not only that, he settled Mary's treatment too. When Thomas was discharged, a car from the mansion came to pick him up. He was confused. "Why are we going there?" he asked. The driver smiled. "You'll see, sir." At the mansion gate, Thomas saw something new. A big board. On it, in golden letters, it said, "Thomas Gate, named in honor of our loyal guard, Mr. Thomas." His eyes filled with tears. Inside the gate, the staff stood in a line. Mia ran forward and hugged him tightly. "Welcome home, Uncle Thomas," she said, smiling through tears. Mr. Kane walked toward them. But this time, he did not walk with his chest out like a king. He walked like a man who had learned a hard lesson. He stood in front of Thomas. Then, in front of everyone, he bent down on his knees. "Mr. Thomas," he said, voice shaking, "I don't deserve your respect, but I beg for your forgiveness. Please come back. Not as a guard, as our family's chief of security, with a higher salary, a house, and full medical support for you and your wife." Everyone gasped. Some staff members covered their mouths. A billionaire, kneeling before an old guard. Thomas's hands trembled. He quickly tried to pull Mr. Kane up. "Sir, please stand up. Don't do this." Mr. Kane's eyes were red. "This is the least I can do," he said. "You protected what money cannot buy. My child." Thomas looked at Mia, then at Grace, then at the mansion he had guarded for so long. With tears running down his wrinkled cheeks, he nodded. "I will come back," he said. "But this time, you must listen when I speak." Mr. Kane actually smiled through his tears. "That is a promise." Later, new cameras were fixed on the blind walls. Real training was given to all guards. And in the evenings, when Mia came home from school, Thomas stood by the door, in a new, clean uniform, with a badge that said, "Chief of Security." He smiled and said in his gentle voice, "Princess Mia is home. The house is safe again." Sometimes, the people we think are weak are the ones holding our world together. Never humiliate someone just because they look old, poor, or simple. Karma is real. One day, the same person you insult may be the one who saves your life. If you were in Mr. Kane's place, would you have fired Thomas? And if you were Thomas, would you still come back to save that family?